Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. I would also like to thank CCG for the invitation. I think it's the second time that I attended this forum. During the 50s, climate change has received a lot of attention, and this year there is a lot of anomaly in the northern hemisphere. In China, North America, Europe, there is extreme high temperature. In China, in the Sichuan Basin, mid and lower reaches of the Yangtze River, we have seen extreme high weathers higher than 40 degrees C, except for Tibet and Heilongjiang province in China. Most provinces suffer temperatures above 40 degrees C.
In the world, in China, there's a lot of climate monitoring centers reporting that there is a lot of events exceeding the highest limits of the temperature, and also the power demand at the summertime has become a record high, and a lot of other issues added together. So the similar events keep coming, and we can feel that climate change is around us. And this year, the media even have created a new line that this year is probably the coolest year in our life going forward, according to the statistics of the World Organizations of Climate. In the future, the frequency of the extreme weather events will be doubled, and it's going to be that way. And the floods and the droughts and extreme weather events are increasing. In last century, for 10 years, only 70 extreme climate events were happening. But right now, within 10 years, more than 3,000. They become more severe and become more frequent. And also, right now, we are living in the same planet Earth. Climate change respects no national borders. On the other hand, we're very pleased to see that from 2019 all the way to 2022, a lot of countries have proposed their targets, carbon neutrality targets. And as of now, about 130 countries have made their targets for carbon neutrality. 51 countries officially submit their milestones for the low carbon emissions for long-term development to the Secretariat of the UNFCCC, and many of them have made commitments for the future carbon emission reduction and the schedules and timeline, together with the relevant policies. Paris Agreement laid a solid foundation for the execution of these commitments. So from the public or the private sectors, about 760 big companies have made their carbon neutral targets. About 200 of them are Chinese big companies, and many of them have made that commitment prior to 2015. Financial sector, previously Sir Danny Alexander have alluded to this issue about AIIB. In 2020, the climate financing reserves already increased by 41%, increased to 41%, and going forward is going to surpass half. So the climate change will play a very important role in financing and vice versa. So conversely, in China, commercial banks, investment banks, and regional policy banks, the government-supported and guided green funds play more and more important role. Of course, another negative side of this good news is that there must be problems and challenges roaming around. since there are so many countries proposing their commitments of carbon neutrality, but the emission limits actually has been broken. And we know that in 2020, there's a lot of economic stimulus packages from different countries to get out of the impact from the COVID-19 that lead to the increase of the emissions of carbon. So all of this matters added by the natural disasters. And in a northern hemisphere, we can see the spike in prices of the energies and also the geological disputes also becoming more and more severe. So faced by these challenges, how can we make a good way towards carbon neutrality? There's a lot of voices within the short term, or the problem of short term, if not properly handled and resolved. For example, the spike in prices of the food and energies and inflation rate would also have a very huge and profound influence on the long-term issues. China is always dedicated in the very positive attitudes in response to climate change with our national strategies and policies. Since the targets have been made in 2020, we have set up the climate change policy framework, namely 1+N framework. And we had the financial institutions, and we have the special financial policies from the regulators from China. And at the international level, we have China-Europe Green Partnership. And every year, the vice president level conference were held every year, and a lot of work have been done between the heads of states on this issue, and also in Egypt later this year, the COP27 will be held in response to how to make the solutions to these questions.